Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're jumping down into the world of Chainlink. There's some interesting things I want to talk about today, specifically around on-chain data and metrics that could give us a glimpse and an insight into what could happen to Chainlink in the future. As I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so you will not miss another video update. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, what are you waiting for? Check it out. Link is down in the description below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. So why not go ahead and check it out? Let's kick things off though by jumping down into the world of data. We'll skip over the news section here and we'll jump right down into on-chain data. And for this, we're going to head on over to our membership website. This is membership.cheekycrypto.io. Link is in the description below. Everything on this platform does have a 7-day free trial, so you can go ahead and try it out before you buy. Of course, if you don't want to continue, just make sure you go over to your profile area, go ahead and into your subscriptions and cancel it. If you do not cancel it, you will be charged, but just bear that in mind. But we are going to be talking about the data zone here, not so much the accumulation zones of where I think many of these altcoins are likely to bottom, but we're going to go into the data portal and yeah, let's go ahead and load that up. It's going to look like this, right? Now, in the top right-hand corner, we have all the various different chains that we're currently keeping an eye on. Bitcoin, Cardano, Chainlink, which is what we're going to talk about today, Ethereum, Litecoin, XRP, and we're adding more to this every single week. But we're going to just focus in on Chainlink here for a moment because there is some interesting things going on that I think is important to keep an eye on, right? So here we can see that we have the all-time high at $52.70. This was basically on the 10th of May, back in actually it wasn't. It was, sorry, it's because this is an American date. This is the 5th of November. 2021, I believe. We can check that in the charts later in the video. But yeah, you can see the all-time high, the all-time low basically being back here as well. Actually on the 29th of November, so that must be May. So cool, right? So we are 86.28% down from our all-time high. So we have come down pretty aggressively. You can also see this here in our price chart, and I can of course check that all-time high is the 10th of May. So it's not an American date, it's a UK date. So 10th of May there. And I actually have this one at 51.85, but this comes from two different sources. So again, different exchanges have different kind of numbers in terms of where things land and all that kind of stuff. So it's exchange specific. This data down here in the graph, I think, is from CoinGecko, and this one comes from a different source altogether. Just bear that in mind. Ultimately, though, if we kind of take a look at that, we're 886 days from its all-time high. You can see that we are in this accumulation phase at the bottom. We're going to talk more about that importance of the accumulation phase later in this video. We can see that we have 556 million out there in circulating supply, total supply being 1 billion, maximum supply being 1 billion. Now, what's interesting about this is where this data comes from, how you calculate circulating supply versus supply that's locked up and all these kind of things. Because now we have staking elements and we've got DeFi, and there's so much more to Chainlink now than there was back in like 2020 and 2021. So it's interesting kind of way to kind of take a look at the market and obviously understanding what's actually out there in circulation versus, potentially what is locked up and all that kind of stuff. But as we kind of come down into our network analysis, here we can see that the market cap hovers at about 4 billion. Realized, this is the idea of when people paid for Link. It's actually 8.41. So you can see that people have lost half the value since basically buying into Chainlink, right? So they're 50% down. If you take a look at realized market cap versus market cap. Now, the problem with this essentially isn't actually when people buy it. It's basically when Chainlink would move from one address to another address. And that's kind of what captures a snapshot of when it was last moved and the price when it last moved. And that is how it calculates the realized market cap. So when this, we obviously take each of these with a pinch of salt. We understand that market cap is just a calculation of supply multiplied by current price. So it doesn't show you liquidity, doesn't show you value, doesn't show you anything of substance, just gives you this theoretical number. And then realized market cap gives you the price of when Chainlink last moved from one wallet to another wallet and gives you an idea that people paid, 8.41 billion. So again, these are, they're numbers that we can use, but I wouldn't rely on them and say that these are, numbers that we can say categorically mean that we have value and liquidity and all that kind of stuff. These are just theoretical numbers that are basic calculations at the end of the day. And the main thing to really do is figure out on what drives price and focus on those metrics rather than on market cap. But I digress a little bit. As we kind of take a look here, we can see that there's a total number of addresses for Chainlink sits at 679,928. Active in the last 24 hours were 2,417. Active addresses that received Chainlink were 1,915, with sending addresses being 1,159. So there's overlap between people who are sending and receiving Chainlink, and obviously just people who are sending and just receiving. It's quite interesting. But 2,417 addresses were active in the last 24 hours when it comes to Chainlink, which is, reasonably low if we consider, how big Chainlink actually is. But I'm going to get into more of what is going on in the background of Chainlink by clicking into the next navigation bar. Here we are taking a look at the amount of Chainlink in a singular wallet and counting up those wallets, right? So we have the standard stuff that we talk about on the channel, right? We've got 10 different sized wallets, 0.001 link or more. We have 0.01 link or more, 0.1 link or more, 1 link or more, 10 link or more, 100 link or more, 1,000 link or more, 10,000 link or more, 100,000 link or more, or 1 million link or more, right? And we can see that we're on this higher range right here, 1 million link or more. There are 90 wallets that have over 1 million link in them. And that's pretty impressive, right? We can see in the last 365 days, that is down 7.22%, i.e. we're down 7 wallets. But in the last 180 days, we're actually up 2.27%. In the last 7 days, it's up 1.12%, okay? And so you can see here that actually in the last 180 days, there's an accumulation phase going on. This happens to marry up with the price basically just ranging sideways. This is the accumulation phase of Chainlink. Now, Chainlink is going to be something really, really good in the next bullish market, in my opinion. And that is the reason that we are seeing such great accumulation at these really wealthy levels. Now, if I move this over into 100,000 Chainlink or more, you can see this black line here, the number of wallets with 100,000 link or more has skyrocketed. Okay, now this was basically accumulating quite nicely up into the kind of peaks around August of 2021. We did see a bit of a move to the downside in October of 2021, back up into late 2021, and then aggressively down in May of 2022. But since then, and since price action of Link has come down quite aggressively, we actually sort of surged to the upside with the number of wallets that have over 100,000 Link in them. It's up 29.82% in the last 365 days, 18.64% in 180 days. It's up 11.49% in 90 days, up 2.96% in 60 days, 30 days is 4.23%, 14 days is 3.68%, and in the last 7 days, 2.96%. Slightly fluctuating down a little bit, but you can see great accumulation at a pretty wealthy level. Now, if we take this down to 10,000 Link or more, in a pretty sizable position in Chainlink, you can see very similar numbers, more retail based here, and you can see that these are still stacking up very, very nicely. My point is with this data is that we are seeing a great accumulative phase for Chainlink. And the question becomes, are you jumping on that train or not? Personally, Chris and myself, we are all over Chainlink. We think it's going to do incredibly well in that next bullish market. And we do have pretty decent positions in Chainlink. That being said, I'm not happy with mine. I think it can be bigger. And I think looking at this data, it really does back up that idea that Chainlink is going to be an absolute powerhouse in the next bullish market. We can take this further by coming down into the supply analysis. And here we can see the supply that sits in addresses with certain amounts of link, right? Here we can see that each of these segments of the pie is broken up into those 10 segments that we had earlier, right? 0.001 all the way through to a million link, right? We can see that we have 6.9 or 0.69, so 688 million Chainlink is sat in wallets that have greater than 1 million units. That essentially means that there's a significant portion of wallets out there with very, very, very sizable positions in Chainlink. As we kind of come down here, we can see that 816 million sits in at 100,000. So when we break it down like this, we can see some interesting kind of ways of saying, okay, the supply is clearly being distributed in a very specific way. And of course, this takes into consideration the entire amount of Chainlink, all 1 billion of it. Okay, it's not all out in circulating supply. This will include the supply that's yet to be issued, if you understand what I mean. Now, of course, on the right-hand side, we can break this down into dollar value, right? If we have a look here, here, wallets that have wallets that are greater than $10 million in value, we can see that 677 million Chainlink sits within that bracket as well. And again, you can scale this all the way back down. So if we take a look at, okay, if you've got $10,000 invested, that's actually equates to 953 million Chainlink, right? So very, very interesting kind of perspectives on the market here. And we can see kind of, where the supply sits. Essentially, in the top 10% of all addresses sits 982 million. It's very, very centralized from that kind of point of view. And we can also take a look at it from 100 addresses. The top 100 addresses equals 697 million link. So we know that it's not widely distributed. It's quite centralized with some very large backers. Now, this means that there's going to be a shrinkage of supply potentially, and we are going to see a significant surge to the upside. However, we have to be very cautious that we don't get trapped out in positions when essentially these big wallets will look to liquidate their positions at some point in the future. This could be problematic for smaller retail investors who think that we'll keep going up, 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 and up. Instead, dollar cost average out like you dollar cost average in. This seems to be probably the best approach, at least in my humble opinion. So taking a look at this, I'm not going to go into any more of the data here. We could go into the liquidations, exchange, and total value locked, all those things. But for the most part, I think that's going to really wrap up the technical analysis or the on-chain analysis for this part of the video. If we come on over into the charts, there we go. We can see here that we are still expecting a little bit further to the downside on Chainlink. I don't think we're necessarily done with the bear market lows just yet. And this will basically be a great accumulation for bigger positions if you are looking for that. Ultimately, I think we're going to land somewhere between $4 and $1.70. The $1.70 is a real long shot, but it is something that we can see potentially on the horizon here for Chainlink. We want to be very mindful over the potential for that. But I think for the most part, dollar cost averaging as we kind of come down at one more time, I think would be a pretty wise move, at least in my humble opinion. This is just my thoughts and opinions on the data in the charts and on chain analysis. It's just my thoughts and opinions on that. And if you have found this useful and informative, then you should go ahead and, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and join us in Discord. We can continue the conversation down there. But I am going to wrap this video up there, and I will just kind of leave you on one last note to say that I'm not a financial advisor. I cannot give you financial advice. All I can do is give you my thoughts and opinions on the data in the charts as I personally see it. And if you do have access to a financial advisor, you should probably consult them. I'm going to leave it there. Until the next one, have a fantastic day.